What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today we are talking about it's time, rise and thrive. So it's really interesting to me because when I was thinking, I have this sort of process that I go through where I prepare shows and get the information into the production company at Inspired Choices Network and all of that kind of stuff. And in this case, I was really surprised because I've never thought to do this. This show is called Time to Rise and Thrive, and yet I've never chosen to do this particular subject matter before. So today we're going to have some fun. Today we are going to talk about what does it mean to thrive and how can you do that? So on Time to Rise and Thrive, what we do here is we talk about your subliminal soundtrack. We talk about getting it working for you rather than against you. We talk about recognizing your unique beauty, your contribution to the world, your everything. Did you know that you are unique and beautiful and amazing just as you are right now? Did you know that? We are going to talk about some of that stuff as we go through the show. So just in case this is your first time on the show, I want to give you just a brief idea of what I mean when I'm talking about subliminal soundtrack, because we talk about that every week. And most of the things that we talk about sort of relate back to that. So this is my terminology. Subliminal soundtrack is that loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. We've heard it called all kinds of different things, but this is my technology. This is my terminology. So it's made up of these bits of information that we've picked up throughout the course of our lives. So every conversation you've had, every relationship you've been part of, every lesson you've learned, every single experience has given you little bits of information that you've stored back there, and you use that information to create your belief systems. What does it mean to love or be loved? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to anything and everything? Have money, not have money, have a career that fulfills you. Everything, every single thing is influenced by this subliminal soundtrack. So what do we do when it's not really helpful? We change it. It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do when you understand sort of the steps and the how to. Once I learned this, I have implemented it over and over and over and over again. And that's why I talk about it, because it is something that is so important for us to understand what is happening back there that is affecting our belief systems, that is causing us to create our circumstances, because there are two very important pieces to this. The first is that what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. The second is that we create our circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. Interesting, right? So very often when we find ourselves sort of working toward things and it's just not happening, it's because there's something back there that's tripping us up. So if there's something going on in your subliminal soundtrack and you would like some more information, I'm going to encourage you to go to jackiemott.com, and there is an article there called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. It is my free gift to you. Please go and download that article, and it gives you all of the information. I also am working on some programs right now. Ooh, we got a plan. Everything's very exciting in my world right now. So yeah, find me on Facebook, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Come back here every Friday. We are live at 1 p.m. on Inspired Choices Network. And we always are talking about these mindset things and how to switch or shift them to create the belief systems that will help you to create the life that you desire. Did you know you could do that? I didn't. I lived from a completely different place for a very, very, very long time. Now I feel like I'm playing catch up. Now I'm at 50 years old and purposely creating my life from these things, from shifting those limitations and those belief systems that have held me back. So let's get talking about what we're talking about today. So what does it mean to truly thrive? Does it mean to have abundance in your finances? Does it mean that you feel happy and fulfilled in your career and relationship? That you have activities that you enjoy, that you have things that make you feel fulfilled and happy? What does it mean? It means all of that. And it can mean different things at different phases or stages in our lives, right? I mean, somebody who's got young kids at home that they're still raising, for them, thriving might actually be more about those kids and making sure the kids' needs are met and making sure that the kids are developing well, all of that kind of stuff, right? When you are at a place like me where you don't really have those kinds of responsibilities, now I'm looking forward at the rest of my life and figuring out what I would like to create for myself. When you're a small child, what does it mean to thrive? Well, really, that's about growing and developing and hitting those milestones, isn't it? Right, right. So, how does this subliminal soundtrack sort of relate to this idea of thriving? So if you believe that you should be happy with what you've got, or that you don't deserve to have the things that you would really like, and by the way, that is, we can work on that. We can do something about that. That is actually one of the most important things, the deserving worthiness. I'm getting off track. So if you actually have those sorts of belief systems and you're going to create a space that may be comfortable, it might well be comfortable, but it's going to also be stagnating. Do you see what I'm saying? But on the other hand, if you believe that life is about growth and learning and change and experience and all of those yummy, juicy things, you will look for the opportunities, the relationships, the circumstances that will help you do those things and will move you toward thriving rather than simply surviving. Isn't that exciting? You get to make the choice. You get to make the choice. And a lot of this is about alignment with yourself, with the things in your life that are important to you right now. All of those things are factors. This is a process. It is a process that for me, it took years and years. And I'm going to get into some of that sort of story about what took me so long and how did it happen or what was holding me back in our next segment. We're going to talk a lot more about that sort of stuff, okay? Because it's important for us to have relationships or conversations sometimes with people who understand where we're at right now, because they can help us get a little bit further. They can help us move in the direction that will help us get to where we want to go. And I'm going to tell you, we've had like the last few weeks, we've had so many really great shows about this breaking free of our limiting beliefs, building the bridge to get to the things that we would like to get to. Enough is not good enough. You can always find the recordings on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're all over the place. So if you go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, you can find either myself, Jackie Mott, or the show Time to Rise and Thrive. There's all kinds of other people there with really great shows too. But you can find all of my shows recorded on that platform. Also, there is an app. So you go into your, I don't even know how you do, you go into your app store thingy, download it, and then look through that. There's probably a whole bunch of us on that particular platform that could give you some insight into where you're at and how you can get to where you would like to be. So I would encourage you at any time, go back and find some of those. Find the one about building a bridge, find the one about enough is not good enough anymore. All of this stuff is what we talk about to break free of those limiting beliefs that are living there on the subliminal soundtrack. The limiting beliefs are what is holding us back. So let's just get busy breaking through them, right? Springtime is such a wonderful time to tap into this energy because there is no lack. There is no lack. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. So, the first thing that I would like to share with you is the definition according to Merriam Webster Dictionary. So, there are three definitions. I looked this up this morning because I wanted to really sort of be clear on what are we talking about. So, the first is to grow vigorously or flourish. Second, to gain in wealth or possession, prosper. The third, to progress toward or realize a goal despite or because of circumstances. Now that's the one that we're really going to focus our attention on. But you can see there's just this energy of expansion and growth and learning and yummy, 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 right? Yes. So springtime is a great time to tap into that because all around us, nature is just exploding, exploding with wonderfulness. So in nature, the natural state of being is either to thrive or to die, right? So we all know that animals that are born in the wild that are not healthy will often not survive. And there are reasons for that. Resources are used for the strong and the healthy to help them move forward, thrive or die. Okay. So when we look at nature, what do we see? So one of the things that happened last year, I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook page, I do these little videos, and I recorded one last year about this because I had this squash plant that appeared out of nowhere. It must have come out of the composter. That's the only thing I can think of, or maybe there was an animal that planted some seeds for me or something. But this stinking plant, it grew all over the place. It was like overtaking that section of the yard. It was climbing up into the garden beds that I had for other, and like attaching itself to the tomato plants and the pepper plants. It was crazy. This thing was completely out of control. And that, my friend, is thriving. We don't care. We don't care how much space we take up. We don't care. It's not about this mindset stuff that causes us to hold ourselves back. In nature, there is none of that. The plants and the trees and the animals, they don't worry about limitations. They take what they need. They take what they need. We are the animals that have decided that, maybe we shouldn't take, maybe all of that kind of stuff. And that's there, right? Maybe we shouldn't ask for too much. Maybe we shouldn't fill in the blanks, right? My squash plant could have cared less. It was just growing like mad. Now, I want you to think also about like the chaos of this thriving thing in nature. So seeds don't just magically turn into plants. Seeds have to like completely explode. They have to. So think about an acorn. Think about an acorn, and there is a seed inside that acorn that needs to come out so that it can, get the roots and all of that sort of stuff and grow in. I think it's an oak tree. It needs to have those things. So it self-destructs, it breaks wide open, right? And that's how the growth happens. When we're looking at eggs, birds, that kind of stuff, they have to break open in order to survive, right? If they stay in that shell, then nothing happens, they die. So we're talking about this really clearly. We thrive or we die. And the die could take a very, very, very long time, couldn't it? Yeah, it can. So animals fight, right? They go and they take what they need. They will fight sometimes to the death to get the resources that they need. Think about, so what I was thinking about this morning was lions in a pride or wolves in a pack. What happens? What happens is that here's the male leader of the pack, and along comes a young guy who says, I'm going to challenge you. I want to be able to have the leadership. I want to be able to mate. I want to be able to breed with these females. So therefore, let's go. I'm going to take you on and I will fight you to the death if necessary to make that happen, right? Wolves, same thing. The only wolves that are allowed to mate are the alpha, the alpha, what do you call it? Couple kind of thing, right? Those are the only ones that are supposed to mate inside the pack. Right. So when we have these challenges coming, animals will fight to the death to protect what's theirs, um, to have the resources that they require in order to feed the young, in order to feed the other members of the pack. They will fight to the death when necessary. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is this, again, about this chaos idea. Birth is messy. Any kind of birth is messy. Creation is messy. It comes out of chaos, if you think about it. When a woman or any other animal gives birth to her young, it is a messy process, is it not? It's painful. I mean, I don't know about other animals, but I can attest to the human animal experience. It's painful. It requires a lot of us. And don't we, as we're going through that gestation period, that pregnancy, don't we make sure that we are taking in the resources that will help baby to grow, to become strong and healthy? Yes. So that's what we want. We want our children, even before they're born, we want them to be thriving and growing and gaining strength, don't we? Yes. All right. So we're going to head to our first break. This is going to be an information packed episode this week. So we're going to head to our first break. Stick with us while we do that. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about what does it mean to thrive and how can I do that too. So stick with us for a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today we are talking about thriving. It's time to stop merely surviving and actually begin thriving. Yes. So we're talking about what does it mean and how do we do that? How do we do that? So this is all about mindset. It is all about that subliminal soundtrack. If you have been in a position where, maybe you've grown up in poverty, we have these limitations that we believe are true. But the truth of the matter is that there is wealth everywhere. There is wealth everywhere. And just because our experience has involved a state of poverty does not mean that that is where we are meant to live. Okay. I want you to hear that. Just because it may have been your experience, that doesn't mean that that is where you are meant to live. So we're going to go back in my world. And what I want to share with you basically is, as long as we are content to stay where we're at, we can continue to expect exactly the same things to continue. It's that thing where a definition of insanity, right, is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. It's exactly the same idea. So when I started my adult life, I was actually quite young. I was 17 years old. I became a mom. I moved out on my own, all of that kind of stuff. So we were on welfare for a few years while I sort of figured myself out, got an education, started to sort of get things situated. And really, I needed to grow up a bit, to be perfectly honest. I needed to grow up a little bit. And then when I started to do that, I started to see things in a bit of a different way, right? But what I still carried with me was these ideas that I had ruined my life. I had a really strong lack mentality that was partly from my home where I was raised, and sort of carried over into that stage in my life because welfare doesn't give you much to survive. So, under those circumstances, I began to understand that if I didn't do something to change it, nothing was going to change. I'll be really frank with you. There was a fear that I developed at one point, and the fear was that I was going to be one of those older ladies that was eating cat food just to survive. That was enough to motivate me to go back and finish my high school education. And when I finished my high school education, I found this job that I thought was just the greatest job on the planet. It was an admin job, and it paid me more than welfare did, right? So this was great. I could actually buy my son apples or fresh produce in the middle of the month. But something happened in that work environment that caused me to move on. And then I was stuck. I couldn't find anything else because as much as I had thought that having that, high school education was going to help me find work, it didn't. So then it was necessary for me, if I was going to continue to go down this path where I was changing things, it was necessary for me to switch gears. So I decided to go back to school. I went to college and I ended up a year later with a diploma in business admin with an accounting focus. And that's what I started doing. So I got another job. And then my family circumstances shifted, and it was necessary for me to be more available during the day, so I couldn't continue with that full-time job. So then I started my business. After that, we moved to another city here in Ontario, Trenton, Ontario. And from there, we moved to Alberta. And that's where things really shifted for me. All through all of those circumstances, I was carrying around this idea that there wasn't enough, this idea that thriving was not going to happen for me. I'd better get comfortable where I was. Do you see what I'm saying? All of that mindset stuff shifted when we moved to Alberta. So when we first landed, we were at a hotel. We were there for I think 3 months. And then we found a place to live. The night before our move out of the hotel, we didn't have laundry facilities at our new place yet. So I took all of the dirty laundry down to the laundry room, and I sat there with a notebook and I was sort of journaling and thinking things through and thinking about this move and what was possible for us and all of this other stuff. And at some point, because I do have a bit of a numbers brain, at some point I started to play around with the numbers and I was like, wow, if I'm making this much and he's making this much and this is and that and oh my God, we could actually be doing well. Like a year, maybe 2 years from now, we could be in a completely different position financially than we have ever been. And oh my God, look at the possibilities of that. That's where it started to shift. That night in that laundry room was where that started to shift for me. And once that started to shift, then there was some massive changes that happened. Massive changes. I started to believe differently. I started to believe that I was strong. I started to believe that I was worthy and deserving. I started to believe that I could do it. Not just me, I mean, us as a family, but started to believe in the possibilities that were available because before that, I hadn't thought that way. So when we're looking at this stuff, what is possible is right back there. What does it mean? What does it mean for me to have money? What does it mean for me to not have money? What does it mean for me to be in love? What does it mean for me to have a relationship or not have a relationship? What does all of that means lives back there on that subliminal soundtrack. So what I didn't understand as I was going through these shifts and changes was that I was actually challenging those belief systems. And sometimes they, pardon me, sometimes they would jump up and kick me in the butt or bite me in the butt, right? Sometimes they would trip me up and I would find myself sort of going back into some of those challenging beliefs. But the evidence was all around me. So even if I did trip up and fall down, the evidence was all around me that the things that were there weren't exactly true. I mean, there might have been some truth to them, but they weren't correct. What we believed to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So I was really blessed because I would look around and everything that I saw, everything that I heard challenged those belief systems that told me that there was no other possibility, that told me that I wasn't worthy or deserving of, that told me all of those messages. And just living in that environment was enough to help me start to change those things. So I understand how this works from a very personal place. I understand how this works and how we go about shifting those things and creating a new way of being, creating new belief systems that help us to achieve the things we would like to achieve. So there was another time before we actually did some of this moving around. And it was an interesting thing because I'd gone, it was a business trip, and a bunch of us were going to this event together. So we all sort of piled into somebody's van and drove together down to Atlanta, Georgia. And when we got there, the lady pulled up to the front doors, and I remember being just gobsmacked. I'd never stayed in a hotel that was this ritzy. I never stayed in a place like that. We had, you know, motels, right? The budget hotel. That's where we would stay when we needed a place to rest our head. This place was beautiful and abundant and vibrant, and I mean gold this and marble that, and oh my god, fountain and like everything. And I remember walking into that hotel and having this discomfort. It was a discomfort. It did not feel for me like this was a place that I should be. But I didn't get it until a few days later. And I was sitting there and I was journaling. I was trying to figure out what was bugging me because there was clearly something that was bugging at me that wouldn't go away. And as I was writing, and this is a really great way sometimes to get at the thing, I wasn't really thinking about what I was writing. I was just sort of anything that came out just came out right, 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 right. And at a certain point, I wrote something to the effect that I don't deserve to be here. And then immediately, what came out of that pen was, of course, you deserve to be here. You always have. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes to get down to those nitty gritty places, the journaling can be an amazing thing to do. Journaling can be an amazing thing to do. And one of the things that before we head to our next break, I want to just share with you, if you would want for someone else that you care about to have anything, if you would want them to have happiness, if you would want them to have abundant money flows, if you would want them to have a career that is fulfilling and makes them feel like they're a contribution and that they're doing something important, whatever it is, if you would want them to have healthy relationships, whatever it is, if you would want that for your children, for your siblings, for your parents, for your close friends, anybody that you really care about, don't you deserve that too? Don't you deserve that too? You do. And if no one's ever told you that, here I am, and I'm telling you, you deserve everything good in this life. You're allowed to pick and choose what it looks like. And if you're comfortable where you are right now, God bless, keep going. Yes. But if you're somebody like me who understands, I did not want to be that old lady that was picking through garbage or going to the grocery store and buying cat food because I couldn't afford to buy vegetables or healthy foods for myself. I just did not want that future. And the only way that I could avoid that future was to start making changes, start making the changes, taking action on the things that would help me create a different way of life. Okay. So it took a very long time for me to address all of those mindset issues. And again, I didn't know, there was no framework for me to put this in. There wasn't anybody that I heard of that was standing on a stage or having a show that talked about this stuff that I may have learned from at that stage in my life. So it took me a very long time. And this is one of the reasons why I do what I do, is because my hope is to help people sort of get there sooner, get there more quickly, because now I know the road, right? Yeah. So that's why I do what I do. This is a process. and any process takes time. You get to choose whether it takes a long time and it's hard to do, or whether you find the resources that are available to you in order to move that along a little bit faster. Ultimately, you're the one who has to do the work. You're the one who has to choose how that's going to go. Ultimately, that's up to you. But I really want you to hear, this is what I do. This is what I love doing. Come back on Friday afternoons, 1 p.m. Eastern, and you will find me here always talking about this kind of stuff. You have resources available that can help you. Reach out to me. Let's spend some time on a call. Let's get together and talk about the things that are going on. You know where to find me. JackieMott.com, InspiredChoicesNetwork.com, Facebook, Jackie Mott Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Find me. We'll have a conversation. All right. Yes. So we're going to head to our next break now. When we come back, we're kind of going to dig into some of the nitty gritty. So you may want to grab yourself a pen and paper. I always encourage people to do that just in case. And don't forget, if we go too quickly for you to make those notes, you're not in a position where you can do that right now, go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and you will find all of the episodes. You can go back and listen to or watch anything that you would like to see again. All right. So stick with us for a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and I think that my producer wanted us to get to the good stuff. What do you think? Yes, yes. All right. So now we are going to get into the nitty gritty, but just before that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up on some of the stuff that's happening in my world. So Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert on Facebook has been something I haven't really had an awful lot of time to be on there engaging for a while. For the last couple of months, it's been busy. I also do income taxes and bookkeeping and stuff like that. So it's been a bit of a busy time. And often at this time of the year, I kind of slow down on there. There's also been this massive creative stuff that's going on in my business and in my life. And it is just so wonderful. So wonderful. I've got these things that I'm working on bringing to life. I've got a book I'm working on. I've got programs I'm working on. We are going to have some really wonderful stuff coming out in the very near future. So I would really encourage you to find me on Facebook, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Get that article from jackiemott.com. You'll get on the mailing list. Just be open to receiving what's coming to you. There are going to be some really wonderful options to get more information or to get some support as you work through these processes. Isn't that yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Okay. So now here's what we're going to do. We are going to talk about some of those things that we need to do in order to make those moves. Because remember what I said, when we get comfortable and we're content to stay where we're at, that's what we can expect to continue for us, right? Yeah. So when you're in that place, like I was, when I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be an old woman digging through garbage cans. Oh my God, I can't have that. What am I going to do? Right? It's important for us to start with, what do you want? What do you really want? Would you like would you like not to have to eat cat food when you're old? That was my driving force. That, and also, obviously making sure that my son had opportunities and all of those sorts of things. Okay, so what would you like? What would you like to create for yourself? And try to be as specific as possible. So this is that manifesting thing that we hear all kinds of people talking about. Try to be as specific as possible. What do you want? So if it's a relationship, if it's a romantic partner that you're looking for, what do you want that to look like? What do you want in that person? Specific. And it doesn't have to be about looks. It can be about personality. It can be about values. It can be anything. But make a list. Make a list of the things that you would desire to have in that person. What do you want to have in your work? Do you see how this can be anywhere in your life? What kind of work would make you feel fulfilled? Maybe it's something where you're helping other people. Maybe it's something where you are doing work in the background. Maybe you're on stages talking about things that help people achieve things, or helping them to grow and learn. Whatever it is, what would make you feel good? What would you like in your work life? What would you like in your finances? What would you like your money to look like? What would you like to have in your bank account? What would you like that flow? Do you want something steady? Do you want something where you're taking risks and taking chances, and the possibility of really big money is there? What do you want? What do you want? And here's the thing, no judgment. There is no judgment. In this part of this exercise, we're not even concerned about the why. We're not even concerned about we're not even concerned about the how. All we are thinking about is the what. What would you like? If you never ask for it, you will never get it. What would you like? What kind of lifestyle would you like to have? Anything. It is all available in this space. Get specific. What would you like to have? That's number one. Number two, this is where we start to do a little bit of work on this. What's holding me back from getting those things? What is the thing that is causing me to trip up? Or there's a wall there that I don't quite know how to get over or around or under. What is the thing that is causing me to not get them? What belief systems are causing you to feel that it's out of reach? Now, this is where I'm really going to encourage you to go back and watch the episode. 2 weeks ago, I think, was Build Your Bridge. And last week was Enough Isn't Good Enough Anymore. So remember, we're talking about thriving and not merely surviving. Okay, so enough isn't good enough. Surviving is not enough. We make that decision, things start to shift. They start to shift. Step number 3. Now we need to figure out, so we're going to start with some research. What is required of me to start to do that? So one of the things, if you're looking for a romantic relationship, when you want to find somebody sitting on your butt watching TV every night is probably not going to accomplish that. I mean, there are online apps and things like that, but you need to make an effort. You need to put it out there. If you're just sitting there, all comfy, and I have no judgment. I have had times like this in my own life where I just wanted to cocoon and not be bothered by anybody, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are wanting to find a partner, you're not going to find them that way, are you? So what is required? If you're wanting to change your career path, do you need a different level of education? Is there a certification that you can get? What is it that you need? What is required? Do you need to relocate? Maybe you live in a place where whatever industry you would like to work in is not really available there. So you need to go and find a place where it is. So do you need to relocate? The courses maybe aren't available. You know, they have certain things at certain schools, and things have changed a lot as far as online access to things. But what do we need is this step. We need a mindset shift. What part of our mindset do we need to address so that we can shift that and turn it into the mindset that will propel us toward the things that we desire? What do we need to do, and where can we find the resources to do that? Now, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. But if you're with me today, I'm going to assume that you are, because why else would you watch me talk every week? Right? Yes. So what resources are available that could help you to move forward, to shift those things that are holding you back and create a new mindset? Yes. Number 4, how can I start moving in that direction? Who can help me? Who can help me? This could be, teachers, it could be mentors, it could be church people, like anybody who can help me get there. One of the things that has really sort of been on my mind is this idea of the resource of people. Who can help you get there? Who is someone you know right now who has the thing that you would like to have, and they could offer you some assistance? Maybe they can mentor you. Maybe they've got a class or a course or a workshop that could help you to break through some of the things that you need to break through. I know, like many of the workshops and classes that I've done, there has been a mindset component, probably most of them. There has been a mindset component. And when you start to go to these things and you start to see your own stuff, it is absolutely amazing when we start to recognize how we have been responsible for the blockages or holding ourselves back. Where does that come from? What do we need to shift? Find the resources, the people that can help you to figure that piece out. Because another thing is this, like, you're the combined average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. So if you want to have healthy relationships, go find people that have healthy relationships. If you want to have a successful business, go find people that have a successful business. If you want to write a book, go find people that are also interested in writing a book, or they already have written a book. Do you see what I'm saying? They have information that you don't have. And one of the beautiful things about our mind, it is such an amazing thing, because it helps us. Like, there's so many things that are happening all day, every day, that we don't even realize. Some of it's the subliminal soundtrack. Some of it is that my heart just keeps beating. I don't have to think about that. I keep breathing. I don't have to think about that. Do you see what I'm saying? There's so many things that amazing magical mind controls. It is also really interesting because it has limitations. The limitation is that it is only able to process things based on what it already knows. Your mind can only process things based on the information that it already has, much like a computer. Okay, so when we are in that space, sometimes just opening up our mind and saying, okay, what is possible that I'm not aware of? Who could show up that I don't know yet, right? How can I learn from these people modeling whatever this thing is that I would like? What can I learn from them? And then just become a sponge. Just become a sponge. Take whatever you can learn, leave the rest behind. Yes, it's a thing. You can do that. It is a thing. So the last thing that I'm going to share with you on this is just get started. Just get started. Go buy a book, or follow a blog, or watch a podcast, or a show. Go do something. Take advantage of the things that are available to you so that you can start, because even baby steps will still get you there. It might take you longer. That's okay. That's up to you. That's up to you. Your journey, your choices, right? And having those resources available to you can help you move forward and do so a lot more quickly. The last piece of that is sometimes there is a massive change that must happen in order for this to really land. So it could be moving across the country. It could be somebody, you've lost somebody that matters a lot to you. It could be any number of different things. Sometimes massive things are required in order to shake up the foundation and put us in a position where we are open or able to see things in a different way. And if that's you, that's okay. There is help available out there. There is help available. And one of the things that we've been really working on in the background is this 5 stages of starting over, which is something that, it's been sort of brewing for the last several years in my world. If you are someone who's going through a massive change like that, please reach out. There are resources available that can help you with these things. You can also go to bookacallwithjackie.com and book a 15-minute call with me, a half-hour call with me. We can talk about some of the stuff that are going, or some of the things that are happening in your world that are influencing these things. All right. So don't be scared. I know it's a lot sometimes when we're going into uncharted territories and we're not really sure what the landscape looks like. There are all kinds of people out there that can help you. Okay. So now we're going to head to our last break. Today we are talking about how to thrive. What does it mean to thrive, and how can you do that too? You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Stick with us for just a moment, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up this conversation about rise and thrive.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our final segment of today's show. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network, and I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. So now we're going to wrap up this conversation about thriving. There's something that I incorporate into almost everything I do, personally and professionally, and I call it radical personal responsibility. So it's up to you. It's up to you. Don't wait for things to change. Change them. Even if it's just a little bit. Even if we start with just shifting that mindset, get on it. Get on it in some way. If you don't take action, nothing is ever going to change. So we create those circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. We create our circumstances. When we start to understand that this is all up to us, the beautiful thing about it is that gives us the permission, the power, the ability to change it ourselves. Think about it for just a second. If I had not decided that I wanted something more for my future, that I didn't want to be that person who ate cat food to survive, that I wanted more for my son, I didn't want to continue to live at that subsistence, that survival place. I didn't want that life anymore. If I had not decided to take action, there are so many things that never would have happened. I never would have started a business if I hadn't gone back to school, right? There are so many people in my life that I have met as a result of all of these things. Some of them, they are my ride or die people, and I am theirs. And I'm so grateful and glad that I have them in my life. I would not be sitting here talking with you today about thriving. I wouldn't have any idea about so many things that I've learned. I would have been content to stay in that place where there was a tiny check coming every month that allowed me to pay my rent and, buy some food. And that was about it. If I had allowed that to be the thing that if it made it okay, do you see what I'm saying? It's all up to you. You are responsible for the choices that you make. You are responsible for the circumstances you create. And this is not from a place of judgment or fault or blame or anything else. It is from a place of empowerment. If I am responsible for the circumstances I have created for myself, that means that I can choose something different and create something different. It is all up to you. It's all up to you. Isn't that wonderful? I know it can be scary, but how wonderful. You are not at the mercy of anything that you don't choose to be at the mercy. Do you see what I'm saying? You can make a whole new life, just like I did. You can make a whole new life for yourself. There is no age where that changes. All of it is up to you. What would you change today? What would you change today? It's a thing to consider. So my friends, that's the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for being with me. The quote that I would like to leave you with: thriving is the natural state of being in nature. Trees and flowers don't worry about limitations or not having enough resources. They take what they need in order to grow. Animals do the same, sometimes even fighting to the death in order to have and protect the things they need to thrive. So why do some of us default to settling for less? When we do that, it's our mindset. And the good news is that you can change that. It's time for you now. Rise and thrive. Rise and thrive. Stand for yourself. Stand for the people you care about. You can do it. You can do it. And I'm here to help. Okay, so we'll be back next week. We're back every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. What is it? 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific, I believe is how it goes. And yeah, so we're talking next week about, next week's going to be good. We have a special guest next week, Lynn Ray. Lynn is somebody who is going to share her starting over story with us. And we're talking about ending the stigma around mental illness. Mental illness is a thing, and it's not sometimes what we perceive it to be, is it? Yeah, so Lynn is going to share some really great information next week. We're going to talk about her starting over story and how she learned to thrive despite being told by 2 doctors that she would never, ever work a full-time job again. I'm excited to have her. She's a really nice lady. I like her. We've had a few conversations. She's pretty awesome. So join us next week for that. Go back and look for that Building Your Bridge. Go back and look for Enough Isn't Good Enough Anymore. All kinds of resources available. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that we've talked about something that has helped you shift your mindset just a little bit, because that's all it takes sometimes, just a little change. So thanks again for joining me, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. Time to rise and thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Join us next week. I can't wait to see you again. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.